Flights at Tambo International Airport. A day after the international ban was eased, the country closed its borders in April in a bid to contain the spread of the coronavirus. I understand that the Minister of Transport, Fikile Mbalula, is currently addressing the media at Tambo International. Let's go there now live.
30th of May 2020, when the country was on level 4, a total of 19,206 passengers landed at our airports. Most of these flights were mainly for essential services and the repatriation and evacuation of foreign nationals and locals respectively. When domestic travel commenced at the beginning of June 2020, during alert level 3, this number went up to 300,991 720 passengers that landed at approved airports in total. The statistics for the month of September 2020 will only be reconciled a few weeks down the line. Our statistics show that in the past 5 years, the average number of passengers traversing between our airports amounted to an average of 1.8 million per month, with the highest recorded figures indicated that over 2 million passengers per month land at our airports during peak travel seasons, such as Easter and Christmas periods. These figures are not meant to shock you, but are merely a demonstration of the real impact of COVID-19 on the civil aviation industry activities and businesses since the World Health Organization announced the global outbreak of this virus in the first quarter of the year 2020. In line with the announcement of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, as well as the regulations issued by the Minister of COCTA, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, international travel is now permitted as of the 1st of October yesterday, 2020. It is therefore my immense pleasure to announce the directions which are effectively setting in motion and signaling the reopening of regional and international travel from and into South Africa. With effect from 1st of October 2020, international passenger flights inbound into our country from the African continent and other countries outside the African continent, as determined in accordance with the list determined by the Minister of Home Affairs. The following conditions: compliance requirements for operators and commercial operators. 1. A foreign operator, meaning an airline, is required to submit procedures that show the level of compliance with South African COVID-19 legislation for approval to the South African Civil Aviation Authority. Foreign air ambulance services are permitted to transport COVID-19 positive patients, provided that they obtain approval from the Department of Health. A permit issued by the Department of Transport and comply with the Department of Health protocols and the air ambulance guidelines that are in place. An operator shall not board any passenger without any valid negative polymerase chain reaction or a valid COVID-19 negative test certificate. 4. South African authorities reserve the right to verify the authenticity of presented PCR or COVID-19 test certificates. 5. Operators are allowed to provide catering on board an airline, for instance, provided that they take all risk mitigation, health and safety measures to contain the spread of COVID-19, including provision of pre-packed meals. Compliance requirements relating to passengers. Passengers are required to wear face masks at all times and may only remove face masks during emergencies or when instructed by cabin crew to take them off. and must observe social distancing, ensure hand washing, and sanitize regularly. A passenger who is unable to wear a face mask due to an underlying medical condition must submit a medical certificate from a registered medical practitioner to the operator prior to departure. 3. A child under the age of 2 years may be exempted from wearing a face mask. This is because masks can restrict breathing for small children as their airways are smaller than older children and adults. 4. A passenger must provide to the operator a negative PCR test certificate or a valid COVID-19 negative test certificate obtained not more than 72 hours before the date of travel from an accredited laboratory in line with the World Health Organization requirements. 5. An immunity passport, risk-free certificate of passport immunity in respect of COVID-19 is not acceptable. 6. If a passenger is symptomatic, and the necessary protocols of the Department of Health will be followed. 7. In the event of the passenger's failure, for whatever reason, to submit a certificate as a proof of a negative PCR test certificate or a valid COVID-19 negative test certificate upon arrival in South Africa, the passenger shall be subjected to a compulsory quarantine at a government-designated facility as contemplated for in health directions at his or her own cost. 8. International travel from countries listed as having a high COVID-19 infection and transmission rate is prohibited, except for business travel, which may be allowed with the approval of the cabinet member responsible for Home Affairs, in which case such passengers must comply with the stipulated requirements. 9. A passenger in transit must be in possession of a negative PCR test certificate or a valid COVID-19 negative test certificate obtained not more than 72 hours before the date of travel from an accredited laboratory. 10. A passenger in transit who displays symptoms of COVID-19 must, upon arrival, under the direction of Ports Health, be taken through primary and secondary screening, including COVID-19 testing where applicable. And he should be quarantined at own cost if a positive test result is obtained. In this case, all Department of Health protocols and Department of Transport guidelines must be adhered to. Requirements relating to the crew. Crew members are required to wear face masks at all times except when conducting a safety briefing and during an emergency. Crew members shall, upon arrival in South Africa, be subjected to health protocols as contemplated for in health directions. An operator must ensure the following risk mitigation measures for crew members. 1. Conduct risk assessments to ensure that crew members are fit and proper. 2. Ensure that crew members are protected whilst on duty. International scheduled and charter flights. International scheduled and charter flights carrying passengers are allowed through the following airports: Oliver Tambo International Airport, Kinshasa International Airport, and Cape Town International Airport. International outbound flights. With regard to international outbound flights, the following applies. 1. Subject to the travel requirements of a country of destination, a passenger must provide to the operator a negative PCR test certificate or a valid COVID-19 negative test certificate from an accredited laboratory. 2. An operator is responsible to ensure that passengers comply with COVID-19 requirements of the country of destination. If you use any airline, in this instance I will mention South African Airways, SAA will be required when it is flying all over the world that people who bought into SA airline are COVID-19 compliant in relation to the laws of that country of destination. If you fly to Dubai or you fly to wherever that you are permissible to fly to, you will then be required in terms of the operator that.
All right, there you go. The Transport Minister, Fikile Mbalula, there talking to us about some of the regulations as of alert level 1.